So I've been tired lately. I've just been tired. I've been tired of just everything. Everything online just kind of feels the same. You know, like the same sounds, the same aesthetics, the same just outrage, the same just everything. And like I said, I'm just tired. I'm just tired of all the noise. And I've been trying to film like my cozy, like little fall decorating video for a couple weeks now, and I can't bring myself to do it. And I've been trying to figure out why. Why can't I film this freaking video? And just like, you know, thinking about it, why I can't do it, just like, you know, diving deep and really thinking about it. And it's because I just feel like every little corner of the internet is trying to sell something and is trying to tell me who I should be and what I should do. And I kind of miss this whole, like, where cozy living was actually like, you know, where it was just real and where we just showed up, where we just like slowed down and just, we're I don't know, where we just were, you know what I mean? We just are. We're not trying it to be like this aesthetic thing. We're not trying to be this, trying to sell this image, if you know what I mean. And I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So, anyways, if you're kind of feeling the way I'm feeling, you know, kind of blah, because I'm feeling blah, or uninspired this season, or overstimulated, or, you know, just plain disconnected from everything, from real life, then this episode is for you. And if you're new here, I'm Xuan, and this is Cozy Notes, and it's like a safe space for us to share all things about slow, cozy, intentional living. I'm so glad you're here. This episode is kind of like, we're back to like what I'm usually doing, what I used to do. I used to have sit down podcast episodes, and this season, this semester has been really busy for me, so I haven't been able to do that. So most of my podcast episodes have been pre-recorded, and I had like B-roll background. That's a blending tool. Okay, sorry. I'm at the park here with my daughter. So yeah, I don't have time to sit down and film videos, so that's why I'm at the park with my daughter right now. My boys are at their art class, and we have a couple hours to kill. Usually we do homeschool stuff right now, but it's our fall break. Well, sort of our fall break. We're not doing any... We're just taking it easy this week because it's Halloween week. So, but yeah, I just wanted to come in here and just talk to you about how I'm feeling about all this stuff. So yeah, my life has been busy. I haven't been able to sit down and do these sit down podcast episodes, and today I have time. So this is what we're doing. So I did take notes. So if I look down, I know you can't probably see because I'm wearing sunglasses because the sun is like bright. And I do have my ND filter on my camera here. So it's like little sunglasses for my camera because I have the sun behind me. I don't want to be facing the sun because I don't want to sunburn. So yeah, this is where we're at. So, so I have to be able to see. My trick when I wear my sunglasses, if I lift them up a little bit and then pull them out, I can they kind of act like readers for me, so I can see my notes that are right below on my phone, right below this camera. So I think like the big part of why we're all like feeling so tired lately isn't just because we're busy. It's because we're being fed like all day long, and it's not real food. It's like junk food. It's information, it's noise, it's opinions, it's ads, it's trends, and the algorithm is like constantly deciding what we see, what we care about, what we buy, what we react to, and over time, it like starts to shape how we think and even how we feel about our own lives. And it dulls like our creativity because we're not creating anymore. We're consuming. And it drains our joy because we're constantly comparing, even if we don't mean to. And it keeps us from living and enjoying our actual lives because it's always whispering that what we have isn't enough. And there's something better out there, something prettier or something more productive, or you're just one scroll away from something better. And the thing is that there's nothing on your screen that's better than your real life. And so today I want to share 13 simple, cozy ways to get that life back, to quiet the noise, to slow down, and to remember what it feels like to be a human again. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so step one. Step one is to step outside without your phone. Like, go outside. You know, back in the day, people used to just, go sit outside on their porch. They would go sit outside on their porches and they'd wave at their neighbors, say hello, maybe chit chat for a few minutes, enjoy the outdoors in the morning or in the evenings before going back inside. And there was like no agenda at all. It was just part of their world, part of their days. And we've lost that. Maybe if you live in the Midwest, maybe you still do that stuff. But here, where I live, in Southern California, we do not do that. People do not do that. People have porches. And they have chairs in their porches. I mean, we have a porch. We have rocking chairs on our porches. We do not sit out in our rocking chairs in our front porch, waving at our neighbors, saying hello. Yeah, we have lost that. So now when we step outside is usually, to take the dog out, right? To take a dog out with like a podcast in our ears, or we're scrolling on our phones. I always see people, I see people right now walking their dogs while looking at their phones. And we're just so disconnected, even in the middle of our own neighborhoods, right? We're not even paying attention to what's around us here. And so, I don't know. I think about my dad. I think about my parents a lot. And my dad is from like the silent generation. Like my dad had me later in life and I had kids later in life. And so I'm sure when my kids think back to me, they're gonna, anyways. So my dad is from the silent generation and he, was a child during World War II. And he, experienced many different things throughout his life. And anyways, he's going to be 90 next year. And he's not as mobile as he used to be. He's a very active person. Used to walk like 5 miles a day until like maybe a couple of years ago. And now he's not as mobile as anymore. But he still makes a point to get outside every day, at least twice a day. And he usually does it in the morning to get some morning sun, and in the evenings to to see the sunset or whatever. And he does it just to, it makes him feel good for one. It makes him feel really good, and it makes him feel just to observe, just to observe the seasons and the sun and like the changing of like the trees and the plants and the animals and watching the birds and and all that stuff. And so it keeps them connected, and it's just simple, and it's a simple way of just keeping track of the world, right? And my parents also live on a golf course, so then you just see the people driving past on their golf carts, and that's always amusing to watch them play as well. So it's just, a really simple practice is just to get outside and just to observe your surroundings and not be connected, because we are so connected to our devices. Even if we say we're not, we are in some way or another. So maybe, it's time to bring back sitting on our porches or our balconies, or, take your coffee outside in the mornings, or notice the light or the sounds or the people passing by. You don't have to document it. You don't have to take a picture and share it with the world that you're having coffee outside. You don't need to do that. Okay? You don't need to do that. You're just there just to experience it. All right? So let's just go outside and enjoy the outdoors. Let's step outside. Number 2 is to refresh a small space. This is something my mom, we see her maybe 4 times a year. And every time we visit, she rearranges the furniture. Even when I was younger, every season she rearranges the furniture in our house. She just needs to refresh the space because it gets stagnant after a while, right? And so I don't think we need to do a full-on declutter of our spaces. We don't need to become minimalist. We don't have to do a Pinterest level makeover or anything like that. We just need little shifts, little rearranging to shift our energy in our spaces. You know what I mean? So for example, I plan on rearranging the furniture in our bedroom. I plan on centering our bed so it centers with our fake fireplace and our TV, because right now it's off center. It's centered in our room, but not centered with that stuff. And I'm gonna move my little cozy corner to the opposite corner so it faces the TV, because my husband actually likes to sit there too, and my daughter too. And then move my desk to where my cozy corner is. So everything, I'm just going to be rearranging that. And hopefully it just brings, a cozier, more comfortable energy to that room. And I would love to also redo our living room, but couches are really expensive now. I've been looking into it. I'm I don't know if I want to drop $4,000 on a couch right now, but in the future. Yeah. So, it's nothing large, but even small changes like that can make your space feel refreshed and functional again, right? So, so start small. Maybe it's your nightstand, or maybe it's a bookshelf, or maybe it's your desk or something. So whatever feels chaotic in your life, create a bit of order in your environment. And it's kind of a form of self-care, yeah? And it reminds you that you can still shape the energy around you, right? Maybe you can't control what the algorithm feeds you, but you can control your own little mini environment. All right, next is to read a real book. Not an audiobook, not a headline, not a caption, not a summary of a book, but a real book. I mean, there's something sacred about holding a real book in your hands. Not a Kindle, and I'm not hating on any of that, but just holding a real book, no notifications, no tabs open while you're reading it, just you and a book. And you can reread an old favorite, of course. You can pick up something new. You can read something totally not your thing, right? You can read a completely different genre than you're used to. You can, pick up a cozy mystery or a travel memoir. Okay, I can watch you from here. Or a travel memoir, or, whatever you're into, right? Just read it and savor it. And it's not about finishing it fast in order to mark it off, check it off, saying that you did something. But it's just to read it, just to let your brain wander. And it's okay if you're reading it and your brain wanders and you have to reread a paragraph. That's okay. It's okay if you read the book and you start thinking about something else, that because it jarred your memory and reminded you of something that you did once before. That's okay. It's okay if a quote from the book resonated with you and you wanted to jot it down or annotate your book, write in your book. That's okay. Just do it. Just breathe. Just let the book, let your brain wander. Let yourself imagine, and just pause on a sentence and just let yourself feel. You know what I mean? Books move you, you know, and books invite you to slow down. And so I invite you to just open up a book and read it, even if it takes you a year to read it, because you're a slow reader. That's okay, because books help you slow down. And sometimes we need that. So number 4 is to journal or write something by hand. Now, it doesn't have to be like anything fancy or structured. Like you don't need journal prompts or anything like that. I personally prefer just to brain dump. Like I just write whatever is on my mind, kind of stream of consciousness writing. I always get that mixed up, how to say that. But just like whatever's on my mind, it just comes out on paper. And, you know, some people call it morning pages. I don't do them in the mornings. I just do them whenever I have too much in my brain and I just need to get it out on paper. And it just, you know, it just helps me clear my brain, you know, and it just helps me notice things, notice what is working and what's not working and what's bothering me and what I need to do and what I need to let go of. And so for just some reason, like writing it by hand does something rather than typing it out. I'm not too sure what it is. I'm sure there's some science behind it all. But it's just, it slows everything down too when you write by hand. And I think that's something else that we need to think about as well. Like the slowing down of information coming out of our brain. I mean, I understand like sometimes our brains work so fast, like we just have so much coming out and then we just can't write fast enough to get all that out. But sometimes it's okay to challenge ourselves, right? To write slower, to like slow down and try to get all that information out. And I mean, it's a way, journaling is a way to process our information, our feelings before like they spill out onto other people, right? It's a way to clear the mental clutter before it turns into like anxiety or overwhelm, right? And, you know, if journaling feels like too big, you know, just start, if you need to, like start with a question. Start with a question like, how do I want to feel today? How do I want to feel today? And when you answer that question, you know, you're going to get honest with yourself and you're going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised. All right, the next thing you're going to do is to get into your flow state. So do something that pulls you in so deeply that you forget to check your phone. It could be like painting or baking or organizing or gardening or playing an instrument, like whatever quiets your mind and keeps your hands busy. Like the other day I was gardening. It was like out front pulling weeds and I was probably out there for like 3 or 4 hours. Didn't even realize how long I was out there. Didn't have anything in my earbuds. Wasn't listening to anything, you know. Met a neighbor that I haven't met before that passed by. She recently moved in, had a baby, worked at like a circus school nearby, so that was interesting to talk to her about that. So yeah, like, you know, it was nice to be in that flow state of gardening and just like getting so much done, you know, but you know, at the same time, like I know what gets me into a flow state and I often don't get myself into that flow state because I know once I'm in it, I don't want to get out of it. And that's something I do need to work on. I understand that. Like it's okay to not be in a flow state for long periods of time. It's okay if I can only just be in a flow state for like an hour or two. I need to be okay with that. I don't always have time to have like 4 or 5 plus hours to be in a flow state. And yeah, anyways, but the other day I was able to have that long period of time to be in a flow state of gardening and it just felt so good and I loved it so much. And so if you're not sure like what your thing is that brings you into that like in flow state, then you need to experiment to figure out what it is for you. So for me, editing videos, that gives me that I get into a flow state with that. Gardening, for sure. Reading. I could just read and not speak to anyone for a long periods of time. Cooking, cooking as well. I could I could cook all day long as long as no one bothers me and talks to me. So yeah, whatever flow feels like for you, like try to get into that as much as possible. And the goal isn't to be productive. Remember that. It's just to like lose track of time in the best of ways. And that's what flow feels like. Next is to create like an analog bag or a dopamine menu, like whatever. I know it's very Gen Z of me to say, like a basket, right? Like I've talked about this before in a previous video. So when I shared like what was in my bag. So when you catch yourself like reaching for your phone out of boredom, what if you reach for something else instead, right? So put together like an analog basket or a tote filled with like things that may help you reset, like a notebook or a book or crossword puzzles or coloring book or, you know, like whatever, crocheting, you know, whatever it is that you want in your, whatever it is that you want. I mean, we're all different, right? We all have different interests and stuff. So you know, maybe it's even like a deck of cards or something. You want to play like solitaire or something, or maybe cards with your friends. You could also like make like a dopamine menu, like if you don't want to have like a tote or a basket like I do, maybe you want like a dopamine menu where you just kind of list all the things that you could possibly do whenever you want to pick up your phone. So maybe it's like make tea or stretch or like water your plants or, you know, step outside or text a friend or, you know, pet your dog, like simple things like that, just to remind you to like to do things that kind of ground you. And, you know, the idea is kind of like, you know, to make it easy to choose something real and grounding over like endless scrolling. Number 7 is to play games like together or solo. Let's bring back game night. Let's bring that back, right? Like it used to be like a regular thing for me. Like I used to have a monthly game night with friends and we'd laugh. We'd laugh until like our butt hurts, right? But you know, like with a lot of things in life, it sort of went out the window once I had more than one kid. It was just like too hard to do. And then, you know, schedules and everything, it was just too hard. But now that my kids are older and, you know, I've been thinking like maybe it's time, it's doable again, right? Or maybe it's just going to be like a family game night thing. I mean, my kids are older too, so like it'll be easier to play. I mean, before game night was like really easy kid games, you know, not so much games that the adults or the older kids would really enjoy playing. But now that everyone is a bit older, maybe we can play more challenging games that all of us would enjoy. But you know, I get it. Schedules are busy and it's really easy. It's easier for everyone to just like grab their own devices and zone out, you know, especially after like really busy days. But, you know, playing games, board games, card games, you know, even something silly like charades. It just kind of forces us to interact and to laugh and to connect in real life, right? And if you've got like competitive people in your family, like some, you know, like I do, then, you know, that's fine too. Maybe just pick lighthearted games and like keeping score, that helps. And, you know, if you're even solo, you can play solo. You do a crossword, a jigsaw puzzle, Sudoku, play solitaire. There's like so many different solitaire games. You know, games wake up your brain. They spark a little joy. They, you know, and they remind you that fun doesn't have to come from a screen or involve alcohol either. Number 8 is to reach out to someone offline. So connection doesn't have to be complicated, right? We always overcomplicate things. We always overcomplicate things. Like you can text a friend, you can like leave like a funny voice memo, you know, or you know, my favorite, you can write a note. You can write a handwritten note. Like, whoa, mind blown. Like an actual handwritten card or a postcard, or like get some stationery. Let's pretend it's 1985, right? There's something like just extra special about putting pen to paper for someone else. And I actually have 2 pen pals. Yeah, real pen pals. And I joined like this site called Post Crossing the other month. And it's like this beautiful community of like people from around the world, and you like send postcards to each other. It's like really cool, and I love it. And it's like there's like no pressure, there's no agenda, just connecting, for the sake of connection. And yeah, it's just really fun. So every time I get a postcard in the mail, it just reminds me of how simple joy can be, right? Joy is just super simple. And we don't always need more notifications. Sometimes we just need a little human touch, something that travels halfway across the world to land right in your mailbox, yeah? So whether it's writing to a pen pal like me, or sending a letter to your grandma or your parents, or just mailing a note to a friend you like really miss, just take a moment to reach out offline. Those like tiny little gestures carry so much warmth. I mean, I feel so much warmth when I get something in the mail from a friend or a family member instead of junk mail. It's like, it just feels so good. Number 9, listen to nostalgia. So play the songs from your youth. Whenever we go on road trips, that's what I do. I play the songs from my youth. The soundtracks from my teen years, my young adult lives. Let yourself travel back in time to when you were like before the algorithms, before the algorithms told you what to listen to, before the algorithms told you that you are a Swiftie fan. It's amazing how like one song can like transport you. Like suddenly you're back in your first car, with windows down, the heater blasted. Am I the only one that did that? Or you're in your college, apartment with friends you haven't talked to in years, right? So nostalgia doesn't mean you're stuck in the past, not at all. It's just a way of reconnecting with the parts of you that, existed before the internet, before all the noise. Number 10 is to move gently. So movement doesn't have to be like a performance. It doesn't have to be a workout. And for me, it's walking. Walking helps more than anything else. It helps me mentally, it helps me emotionally, it helps me like spiritually. And yes, I could do the interval walking that like the internet tells me that I should be doing, but honestly, I just want to walk. There's like no goals, no metrics, just walking to walk. And it's one of the simplest ways to regulate your nervous system, especially if you walk without your phone. And actually like look around, notice the trees, notice the birds, notice the butterflies, notice the light. And that's mindfulness in motion. Number 11 is to sit in silence. So it sounds so simple, but when was the last time you did that? Like actually sat in silence, like no background noise, no music, no podcast, no TV, no kids screaming, just quiet. And at first it's gonna feel uncomfortable, like totally uncomfortable, right? Like your brain is like begging for distraction. It's begging for you to pick up that phone or to turn on that TV or to listen to something. But that's where the magic is. That's where the magic is, right? Silence gives your nervous system like a chance to rest. It's like, it's the pause you like didn't know your mind needed. And when you make a little space for it, you start to like hear your own thoughts. Because of the internet and the algorithms, we hear everyone else's opinions and thoughts that whether we realize it or not, they cloud and influence our own opinions and thoughts. And we don't realize it. And so with silence, we actually hear our real opinions and thoughts again, the ones that actually matter, right? And we want that. We want to be critical thinkers. We want to think clearly and not just ape and mimic what other people are thinking and telling us to think. Number 12 is to start a low stakes hobby. A lot of us like, we're going to start a new hobby, and like we go all in and we like buy all the equipment, all the things, we spend a ton of money doing this hobby that we want to do, and then we don't do it. And it just sits there, and like we wasted all this money and it just sits there. So a low stakes hobby, a hobby that doesn't need to make money, you know, a hobby that we don't need to produce results, a hobby that we don't need to share online, just a hobby that we just, maybe it's like something simple, like maybe it's junk journaling, you know, maybe it's embroidery, maybe it's watercolor painting, maybe it's just puzzles, like putting puzzles together. Lots of used puzzles at thrift stores and used bookstores and stuff. Maybe it's baking, learning how to make sourdough bread. Maybe it's learning like how to play an instrument, just because you want to learn. You know, do it just for the joy of doing it, and not because you want to share with the world that you're doing it. It's not a performance, right? It's not, you don't need other people's permission or acknowledgement that it's cool or that it's okay for you to do. You're just doing it for yourself. And so I think we forget how healing it is, like, to create something just for ourselves, you know? Like, we live in a world where we create for others all the time, for other people's validation, and we're just not doing things for ourselves. Like, we need to do that again. We need to do things for ourselves, you know? No validation, no likes, no feedback, just you in your own little creative world. So yeah, start a low stakes hobby, something just for you, and enjoy it. Enjoy it. And don't share it. And the final one, number 13, is to reconnect with your friends. Now, I'm not talking about networking, you know, let's get together for coffee. You know, not that kind of friends. I mean like the real ones. I mean the ones that can come over to your house when it's a complete mess and they don't really care, right? They're not going to judge you because their house is probably the same right now. And they know that life is busy and you can't keep your house totally clean all the time. So making and keeping friends as adults is totally hard. Like, life gets busy, schedules don't align, you know, and it's easier to like settle for like those surface level friendships that we make at like school events or through work or whatever, you know, but we need deeper friendships. We need deeper ones. We need the type of friendships where we can like philosophize while we're crocheting a blanket or something. We need those friendships where we can come for a movie night and vent about our relationships or something, where we can share a cozy meal or a crafting session or something. You know, the pressure, there's like no pressure at all. There's no pretending. You know, we can just be. We can just be ourselves. And maybe it's time to like text that friend you've been meaning to catch up with, right? I know you have a friend like that. Recently, I reconnected with a friend who we became friends as adults through our kids. You know, we were like in the same mom group and stuff. And, you know, we used to hang out all the time. I used to take care of our kids when she was going back to school. And then our lives kind of, you know, we got busy, basically. I homeschooled my kids. Her kids went to public school. She got divorced, working schedules, all crazy. But, you know, we wanted to, even though our kids' lives didn't mesh anymore, we wanted to continue our friendship. So we're trying. It's still challenging because she's a nurse, but we're trying to get together. And continue our friendship, even if it's just like once a month. And we want to put it on the books, right? So that's what I'm trying to say is like, get your friendship, like schedule it, get it on the books where you get together at least like once a month or once a quarter or something like that, where you get together on a regular basis, where you connect. Like with my best friends, one is in Florida, the other is up in Northern California, and we don't see each other in person that often. And so we connect using Marco Polo. And so we all do Pilates. And so we do like a Pilates check-in, that's how we connect using the app. And so whenever we're driving to or from Pilates, we check in with each other and we update each other on our lives and stuff. And so that's our way of connecting. And so, yeah, like connect with the people that matter in your life. You know, the truth is that the algorithms, you know, they're not evil. They're not evil. They just have a lot to feed us. And if you let it, they'll just keep feeding you until you forget what you actually like. And so unplug a little, and let yourself rediscover what makes you feel alive, right? And not what makes you scroll. Because life doesn't happen on a feed. It happens in the quiet, cozy, beautiful, ordinary, boring moments, and you're too busy scrolling right past them. And if you're craving more cozy slow living inspo, be sure to grab my ebook. I'll leave the info down in the show notes below. And if this episode spoke to you, would you do me a favor and share it with a friend or leave a quick review? I would love that so much. And it helps this cozy little podcast reach more women who are ready to like slow down and simplify and start living life fully again. So I love you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.